Hey, are you at the point of adult-child estrangement as a parent that you are constantly begging to know why? Are you caught in that cycle that they won't tell you why, but they demand that you apologize and take responsibility for all of the things that they feel that they were traumatized as a child for?
But they won't tell you why. I shouldn't make fun of her. She made a snarky sparky right out of the gate on this. They won't tell you why. Yet they want you to take accountability for all the things that they hurt you with, the trauma that you caused. Well, isn't that why? I'm confused. Are you confused? I'm confused. It seems to me that if somebody has told me all the ways in which I've hurt them, right? Or at least some of them, and then they don't talk to me anymore because I'm not taking accountability, well, that's why. As always, whatever videos I show of hers, which there's going to be a few within this one because she is a doozy, I will play them all at the end in their entirety so that you can see them for context, and also you could have the fluid watch of it. It's just difficult for me to go all the way through and then remember what I want to comment on because there is so much. I don't know why.
However, they've cut off all communication. And so how would you possibly take responsibility? How would you possibly have a conversation and find out why they've made this decision? And what can we do to fix this? What can we talk about? What do I need to apologize for?
Well, you could have done it when they brought it up the first 8,000 times, and then there wouldn't have been an 8,001 where it was done. Because let's not, cover the sun with our thumb here, people. You know that they brought up these things that they remember from their childhood, and there's a diminishment in there, their child perspective. That's really what she's saying. You know that these things were brought up more than once. And you and I both know that there were things that were brought up in terms of even holding space that you chose to ignore. And at some point, we all have a breaking point. And how many times does any person have to say, you hurt me, and you don't take accountability and stop those behaviors before we no longer give you access to then decide, today's the day that I'm going to be who you need me to show up as, your safe and loving mother, finally. What a load of garbage. Oh my goodness.
Here's the thing. You can't. They know you can't. There was no opportunity for you to take responsibility for the ways your adult children believe you traumatized them. Because if you are an adult child's parent who made the choice to go no contact, the steps they took before going full no contact, which were gray rock, civil contact, low contact, and then the big kahuna when they cut you off completely. You had never heard of this. You didn't know what gray rock, low contact, no contact. Those are words you've never heard before.
Oh my God, the smugness and the voice, butter wouldn't melt in my mouth sort of thing. You've never heard these words before. And you didn't see your adult child's behavior changing towards you. You need the words to describe the behaviors, to lean in, to find out what's going on and what you need to do to make them lean back in, make them want to lean back in. And this thing of choosing to go, like, it's a big plan. We had a big plan as estranged adult children. I've been estranged over 30 years. By the way, I was an estranged mother for less than 3 years. Our relationship has been going solid for the last 20. I've been on both sides of the track, okay? Just so that we're clear. we see in any relationship, we see how people are responding to us. And if somebody is leaning back and leaning back and leaning back, what did she call it? She said gray rocking. So they're not engaging with you and giving you information because you're probably being an asshole. The other one was civil something. I don't know because I haven't heard that one before. That's a new one on me. And then I guess low contact. So you see somebody leaning out, and instead of doing things to help them want to lean back in, you ignore it, sweep it under the rug, and continue to behave badly. And then lo and behold, when they execute that big plan where they made a choice, because, being in a relationship with you obviously is better than being without you. I mean, they had this big master plan. This was their escape plan, right? It's not a choice. It is the lesser of two evils, at least in the beginning and many times throughout our lives. Being no contact means not having family by and large, because in these family systems, as they operate like cults and in silence and don't want to take accountability as a system of people, and because the scapegoats, who are usually the ones who escape, have been painted as being problematic, they naturally stand with the person who created the problems, not the one who was identified as the problem. Okay. Oh, so, here we are. I don't know what it is with me today. My train of thought is all over the place. So here we are as people who end up going no contact, thinking that we're going to have relationships with the people who value us. We think they value us, and the people that we love so much because they look so much better because this person made them look better. And in reality, they were all part of that system. When you look backwards, we end up losing everybody. And now we don't even have an emergency contact, and we're going to choose that. What would make a person choose to be alone in this world without a family? That isn't a choice. It's a situation where we have very few options. One, stay in and have more things that we have to heal from, experience more trauma, likely have a life that's spinning out of control because we can't regulate our nervous system, not have healthy relationships because you're probably sabotaging them, any support that we get, that sort of thing. When I say you to her, I mean generalization. I'm being, general. Or we go to therapy and not have other things that we need to talk about in therapy, and we can work on where we are at that time to start to push our life forward. That's our choice. That's what we're left with. If you know, you know. It's a language, right?
Yes.
They gave us boundary tests.
Yes. They went low contact in the hope that we would immediately apologize for all of our shortcomings as parents. But did your adult child actually sit down and say, Mom, I feel this was traumatic?
My cup is empty. They gave you boundary tests and you failed. That's kind of what she's saying, right? No, we created boundaries to try to save our relationship with you, and you chose not to pay attention. And this is the bullshit I'm not buying today kind of thing. You are an employed adult person. You know how to follow rules, or you wouldn't be able to hold down a job. That means that you know how to adhere to boundaries. Why don't you fail the boundary test in the workplace? Oh, because you'd be fired. Maybe you should have applied that to the relationship with your adult child. I know why you didn't, because you think you own that person and that you're entitled to them and that you can do what you want, and they just have to suck it up, buttercup, because you are who you are.
I feel this was abusive. How do you feel about us going to a mediator, a facilitator, a therapist, a life coach, and let's talking this out. And so, because I feel like there's some things that maybe you don't realize that you did when I was a child that really affected me as an adult. Did that conversation happen? Did your adult child come to you before you were blocked on their phone, their social media, threatened with arrest if you came near them to speak to them about it?
I wonder if she was threatened with arrest. Why would she say that? That's not like the average thing to say. Are we telling on ourselves? Are we telling on ourselves, Gia? Yeah, her name's Gia. I can say it because her handle isn't under that. I don't like to, send people in the direction to harass and whatever. That's not what I'm about. And that's why I don't post their usernames and things like that. So it's our fault. Did we do all those things to help save the relationship that you broke? Oh, I have this cup. Right off with that. And the answer for me is actually yes. And the answer for a lot of us is yes. And maybe we didn't package it in the way that you needed, you little baby wavy. I know I'm feeling so snarky sparky and I'm just letting this fly because I'm at the I don't give a fuck stage of her because I've been watching her all morning. But she's like a toddler. You broke it and I'm supposed to package things in a way that's palatable to get you to do what I need you to do. Which, by the way, we do. We do. Naturally, because a lot of us are fawns and we're begging for breadcrumbs. So a lot of us are packaging it that way. And, in terms of packaging, I do believe that we should package things in a particular way to serve our own needs. But this isn't that. I asked my mother to go to therapy with me. Yes, I did. She pretended I didn't. Of course, I was the only sick in the head one in the room anyway, so why would she need to go to therapy? I created boundaries for my mother on how she was treating my children, how she was treating me in front of my children. She crossed them. And in fact, she crossed them more after I set the boundaries because she knew it bothered me. She weaponized my being vulnerable enough to trust her with my boundaries. I tried to talk to her about the things that hurt me, and she didn't want to hear it. It's in the past. Get over it. The way she's rolled this video out, she has pretty much admitted to the fact that her daughter did try to communicate with her, and she diminished it. Also, this is another one who's working on making a living off of estranged parents. And I don't have a problem with anybody, making a living and coaching and doing the things. I have a problem with people doing it in a way that causes harm. She runs some sort of support group, and I can bet you anything, I will bet you anything, she does not have a qualified therapist in there who's trauma informed, for example, who works with family estrangement and these dynamics. I bet you there's nobody in there who is actually giving perspective so that people can grow and heal. And I can base that on the other videos that I'm going to feature, but we aren't done with this one yet.
Did they have a conversation? No, they did not. The reason you're driving yourself crazy asking why, and the reason you're begging to know how to reconcile, Mama, no contact was never meant for reconciliation. It's meant to be permanent.
I'll give her this. No contact wasn't meant for reconciliation. That's true. It was meant for us to be able to take space to gain perspective and to start working on ourselves so that we could be better for ourselves. It was meant to strengthen us. And when that happens through the therapy process, it is also why within the first 3 years, most estranged adult children come back and try to bring with them what they learned in therapy to help that parent to have a relationship with them. So how about that? It was never, I didn't know that I was going to be no contact forever. And I do know that there's clients who, when they go no contact, they're like, they're done forever kind of thing. I have had clients who have gotten to that point, and they've been on and off through the process, right? Where they're just like, this isn't safe. Sometimes it's also because it's physically unsafe. And in that case, yeah, it's going to be forever. That being said, most of us aren't looking at spending the whole rest of our adult lives without having a mother or a father or grandparents or aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings. We're looking for relief from what's going on at the time, and we're hopefully working through therapy to figure out, our own value, to learn how to trust and honor ourselves, and then subsequently see if we can actually be in a strong enough place to want to be in those relationships, to be able to manage them. And more times than not, when we go backwards and we see that nothing's changed, it becomes a validation of why we left. And then our tolerance for toxicity is now at a point where it's so low, we recognize, well, what is the value of maintaining a connection with someone who doesn't care enough about me to be a safe person? Okay, that's video 1. Let's see what else she's got. Snarky sparky.
Hey, I received several questions to my inbox that, quite honestly, I just haven't had the time to reply to individually. I thought a lot of these questions would be super helpful to moms that are living with adult child estrangement. So I'm going to take the time tonight to create a few TikToks answering these questions. A reminder, I am the opposite of a life coach. I have zero mental health background. Do not follow me for life advice. However, I am a wealth of knowledge when it comes to adult child estrangement. My daughter went no contact in 2017. Since then, we have had periods of low contact, civil contact, and some would say as close to reconciliation, if not reconciliation, that we could ever be. And now we're back to no contact. So,
you know what she just did? She just told on herself. Her daughter went back and forth, ping-ponged, did the thing that most of us do in the first, in the beginning stages before you finally snap and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore kind of thing. Her daughter went back and forth trying to have a relationship with her. That's what she just said. Yep. But she doesn't know why. She has no clue why. Other than failing boundary tests. Okay.
I've lived this for several years and I have made all the mistakes. So the one thing I can do is share with you the mistakes I have made and perhaps save another mama from going down the road I went down, and hopefully. So, okay, back to the questions. So one of the questions I got that I thought was really important, I mentioned in a TikTok that I received the why from my daughter this year. My daughter went no contact in 2017. The why, if you're living this, you know that those 3 little letters, that's what drove me insane. And I believe I really went insane, in the beginning, the shock and awe stages, which is like the first year of this. So, the question is, was it easier and better when you found out why? Well, I received my why after I began speaking publicly on TikTok. And honestly, the why was not something I looked at and thought, those things never happened. I didn't think that. I read that and I thought, she has memories that are real and validated. Those memories are through a child's eyes. And all I can say about that is, she remembers a snippet of things that she shouldn't know what went on before, after, or around all of that. Why, I can tell you that I made no attempt to try to defend those memories. I didn't try to explain what happened. I just said, thank you for sharing that. And if you're ever open to a therapy session or a mediator present for us to have a discussion, I'd love to have the opportunity to discuss those things with you. Is it easier? No, it's not. That's my truth. That's my honest answer. It's not.
Okay, just for context, the video that I played before this one is an earlier video. So I am going in order. There might be one video that ends up being out of order. I don't know yet until I look on the screen here, but this one came sometime after that other one. And so what she was saying in that other one was that, basically they say things like, you hurt me in my childhood and this is the trauma, yet she's claiming that she didn't know why, right? And then boundary tests. So she's saying that. And then in this video, she's saying things like, I don't want you to make the mistakes that I made. Well, she's still making the same mistakes because her viewpoint hasn't changed. She hasn't grown from the point of she knew why. Her daughter was back and forth doing low contact, no contact, and all of that sort of thing, or low contact, gray rocking, and boundary testing. So she's learned absolutely nothing because, so she's learned labels for behaviors. That's it. But she hasn't learned how her behavior impacts her adult child and why she's no contact. She really hasn't. And she is diminishing what her daughter shared with her in a letter. And I bet you that the daughter wrote the letter to her saying, you know damn well why, you know what you did because of her TikTok videos. I bet it, because the way she put that, it seems to me like it was a response, right? I'm growing my bangs out. I say this in 60,000 videos. I cut them once again, but I'm trying not to. Okay, snarky sparky on top of that. Things that she remembers from a child perspective. That's her invalidating her daughter's memories. And that is also inaccurate. I have lots of things that I remember from my child perspective that I thought were either my fault or normal or didn't complete the pieces in the puzzle because my child perspective was really teeny tiny and it was based on what I was taught was correct from my abusers. My adult perspective looked back at my childhood memories that I've always held and have now made sense of what they mean. So like, for example, when my mother dropped me out of the 2-story window, up until about 5 years ago, my child perspective was still very locked in. And I did not understand or see or acknowledge or conceptualize that she would have had no way of knowing that I would have walked away with 2 broken arms and was actually trying to unalive me. That's what my adult perspective gave me when I was ready to process what actually happened. I remember everything that happened that day. I can actually still feel it in my body. The scent of rain can trigger off the memories for me that are related to that because it was raining that day. My adult brain, my development allows me to know the gravity of what that action actually was. And by the way, that wasn't the worst thing my mother ever did to me. The emotional abuse that she perpetrated was far worse than that and had a much longer lasting impact on me than that one incident that occurred. So words matter, and she's telling on herself. That's my opinion. Let's carry on, shall we? There's more.
Next question that I received in my inbox. It's a great question. This mama mentioned so many people are commenting, we need to apologize. How do you feel about that? Again, I'm not a life coach. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a mama who's living adult-child estrangement with all of you, and we are learning this together. So my opinion on the apologizing, I can say there is rarely a TikTok that is posted that someone does not post under that. Just apologize and take accountability for your parenting. That sounds simple enough, right? Not so fast. So I did apologize. I did what, again, we're here to learn from my disasters and my mistakes, because I want to ensure that no one else follows the blueprint that I followed when my adult child went no contact. And one of the things I did is I just was so desperate for my family to be back together.
I was so desperate for my family to be back together. The facade. I wasn't desperate to heal my daughter. I wasn't desperate to form a close relationship with her. I wasn't desperate to show her that I love her and wanted to help her. And I wasn't really sorry.
I was apologizing for shit left and right that I never did. Blanket apologies. I'll do anything. Yes, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I'm sorry. However, if your adult child is involved in the going no contact movement, which chances are that they are, if you're here, you have realized this was not just a little tiff or a spat. This is something bigger.
If we're involved in a movement, so you see, the responsibility is the movement. We wanted to join this big club of estranged adult children and not have our parents in our lives so we could be without families. Fucking kidding me. I apologize for everything. And all the things. No, I bet you said forgive me. I bet you didn't actually apologize. Right, left, and center, things I didn't do and whatever. So you didn't validate her. You didn't listen. You didn't take accountability. You acted like you were going to. You told her enough to placate her to make her feel like you were leaning in. And then once again, you betrayed her, which is why she yo-yoed in and out of a relationship with you, only to receive more of the same over, like on repeat. But she wants to give other estranged parents the benefit of what, she did wrong so that they don't end up estranged. Yet I thought that you're powerless because it's a movement that caused it, not your actions. So you've learned what terms have meant. You've learned what we need, and you still invalidate it, don't own it, and aren't changing your behavior. So what are you teaching exactly? I wonder.
If your adult child is involved in the going no contact movement, which chances are that they are, if you're here, you have realized this was not just a little tiff or a spat. This is something bigger. And as moms, we know that intuition. And then if you're blocked from a cell phone, blocked from social media, and there's a third party that you immediately remember is involved somehow, those are your 3 warning signs that this is no contact. So the apology deal is this. If you do what I did and you start throwing out words, that's an apology. Okay. Not so fast. No, because your adult children that have gone no contact, they have specific verbiage they are looking for. And I know I keep saying Gen X, but Gen X, boomers, parents of us, most of us apologize by using our own words, our own tone of voice, and what's on our heart and what's on our mind. That is not what you need to do. Okay. You need to.
Gen X here, Gen X parent here. They want it in certain words. No. They want actual accountability, and words matter. An apology is an action. So forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt you. And I did it because of this and that. Even in the video right before this one where she's saying, she didn't know what was going on around the things that she remembers as a child. She's alluding to the fact that she wants to defend herself, which is not an apology. And so she's right. There's a component to it. However, she's wrong because it's not about the words. It's about what actually the actions are surrounding like an apology. An apology is not justification for why you did what you did. An apology isn't please forgive me. An apology is I was going through I was going through this, that, and the other, and I didn't mean to do. No, that is not what an apology is. And that is not what accountability looks like. And so what she's talking about is learning what actual real accountability looks like, what being a safe person looks like, what healing a relationship looks like. It actually isn't that difficult. But wait, there's more on this one.
Do your research. And there are books that actually explain how to apologize. But I am not going to share those books on here because those books are very much written from authors, and even the reviews from bloggers and therapists in their book panel are all people that I know are in favor of adult children going no contact. So I'm not going to share their book because I hope they don't make any money because they're not kind people. However, I don't want to get off on that.
So we're all not kind people, and we just want families to be broken up. And we're writing books about, how to take accountability and apologize and repair your relationship, but we don't want the relationship repaired. So I'm not going to give you the resource that's actually going to lead you to healing. No, because they're going to make money. What? Okay. Oh God, I have a headache.
If you are interested in one of those books, you can go to Amazon and search how to apologize and use their words because they don't want to hear your words. So do it right and good luck with that apology.
So do it right. Yeah. Learn what accountability looks like. And you know what? To be fair, a lot of the estranged parents, and I'm not talking about ones like mine, for example. My mother's a sociopath and a narcissist. She caused harm with intention. That need for control and that level of violence and cruelty, and I'm talking emotional more than physical, that gave her, she's sadistic, right? And so there's a lot of us out there who have an estranged parent who absolutely has ice in their veins and no heart whatsoever, and they're never going to come to the table, and that's who they are, right? And if they come to the table, they're going to chop it all up in like small little pieces, light it on fire and throw you in the fire, that kind of thing. There are estranged parents out there who are emotionally immature, who have other issues going on that are people that can be helped. And they didn't see accountability in their childhoods, and their roadmap is completely, fucked up. And they see when somebody says you hurt my feelings as a sign of disrespect, because they're modeling and bringing forward that emotional immaturity that they experienced in their own childhoods. And they don't understand the difference between taking accountability, making you actually a healthy, loving, safe person, versus taking accountability means that you're taking blame and you're a bad person, because likely they were highly criticized in their childhood. And if they made a mistake, if they did something wrong, if they, whatever the crime was that like children do even naturally in their childhood, we're supposed to be teaching our children that when you misstep, it's not a definition of your character. What you do with that misstep is the definition of your character. But when you are dealing with parents who are highly emotionally immature, chances are that when they made the misstep, it was about who they were, not about the misstep. And so then they come into adulthood without the skills or the ability to self-reflect appropriately without feeling like they're the worst person in the world, and they don't know how to take accountability and how to apologize and how to do the healing and how to build connection. And here she is this person going, I want you to learn from me. Look, I'm such a good person and I don't want you to become estranged. Basically not giving them the resources to do that. And all through her page, she gives resources on how to get support as an estranged parent so you can stay an estranged parent. Yeah. And I don't think she even knows she's doing it to some degree. I'm questioning that now, like as I'm going along with her, like mindset and how her brain works. I do think that she's a facade. I do think that there's some venom in there that lies beneath the surface. Because before she recreated herself, rebranded herself, her videos of the past used to be pretty vile, how awful we are, the estranged adult children. And it's a very we and them, us against them mentality that she had. And I don't know where those videos went. I was looking for them. But they're gone because she's trying to rebrand. Much like Fired Mom is trying to rebrand. They didn't make money off of just being an estranged parent. So now they're going to try to make money and capitalize off of keeping you estranged by giving you their vast knowledge of what they wouldn't do or how they would do it over. Yet she wouldn't do it over in the way that would actually build connection. So it's like they don't even see how they're exposing themselves. No self-awareness. Interesting. But wait, there's more.
Okay, so before your adult child makes a decision that you are a narcissist, there are many things that happen behind the scenes that you did not know were happening. And so all of this is, again, the series that I am sharing about how I educated myself on the no contact movement. So you were given a boundary test. Now, that is not going to mean a thing to you, the words I just said, until I explain to you what a boundary test is. Okay. So if you are Gen X, such as myself, I grew up in a home of myself with 4 other siblings. There were 5 of us. We all shared rooms. We shared cars. I was the youngest girl, so I got hand-me-downs. There was no boundaries. There were no boundaries in my house. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Look, I'm on board with the boundaries. Okay. Now that I know what they are, cool. I can get behind some boundary setting. Wish I had parented like that. However, I did not know what boundaries were. P.S. That doesn't matter to no contact. They don't care. So my boundary test, I now know I can remember it vividly. And I failed it. I failed it like maybe not even a 10 or a 20 did I make on this test. Okay. And my guess is you failed that boundary test as well. Stop beating yourself up about that, because here is my analogy of our boundary test. Okay. So I failed that boundary test just as I would have failed a test if I had walked into Ann Taylor's English class my senior year in high school at Tishomingo High School, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was so small. And I walked in there and she said, we're about to have a pop quiz. And I got my pencil out and she said, okay, we're about to have a pop quiz on Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I speak no Spanish, like not even a little Spanish. So I would have failed that boundary test, right? Heck yeah, I would have failed it. I spoke no boundaries when my daughter gave me the boundary test. But the third party who is convincing my daughter that I am a narcissist is waiting and watching in the wings. And when I failed it, it was, aha, see, told you, she's a narcissist. You cannot win this, y'all. You can't. How do you reclaim your life? You learn about this. You realize you could not have done anything differently. And when I finally grasped that like I was going to fail that boundary test because I didn't speak boundaries and I don't speak Spanish. P.S. I speak boundaries now and I have huge boundaries with anyone in my life as it relates to my daughter's choice to go no contact.
I can't with her. I really can't. So is she giving a boundary test, or when she puts boundaries out there, it's not a test. They're legitimate, valid boundaries. But the thing that really got me, she grew up with no boundaries. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm gonna swear because I feel like swearing. Because, yeah. So, when you weren't allowed to pull the hair of the kid next to you, that wasn't a boundary? Or when your parents said, don't speak to me like that, that's not a boundary, and you adhered to it likely, right? Because you didn't want to be in trouble. when you go to work every day and you're told, listen, you have to stay till 5 o'clock. Do you leave at 4, or do you respect the boundary of, boundaries are rules? Like, come on. Are you kidding? She's treating it like it's a foreign language to know how to behave respectfully and with kindness towards other people. Okay, well, there is a movement going on here. A movement of estranged parents like her who are trying to reinvent themselves and hook other estranged parents in so that they can have income from that, because she is turning this into a business so that, she can, keep that misery loves company and feel like she's not in the wrong, and all like there is a movement with the estranged parents like this one to gather them together. This isn't about support groups where you have somebody with some sort of, common sense and psychological background to be supportive of them and to help them. It's a movement of misery loves company, and let me capitalize on it. It's really, really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know where to go with that. I will play, as I said in the first video, everything in its entirety going through, because I think it's important for context and because I like to be transparent. And I also like to be able to give you all the opportunity, if you want to watch the whole thing all the way through, to be able to do that. So I think I'm going to go get a glass of wine now. Have a nice day. Can you get a double? Maybe a bottle? She drives me to drink. I'm just kidding. Well, no, I am going to go get a glass of wine, but not she drives me to drink. Have a great day. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And just as a side note, I don't think that there's anything wrong with somebody building a business from helping people. I think that there's everything wrong with somebody building a business through harming people. And that's why I take exception. I don't have a problem with somebody making up money off of their skills. I just really have a huge problem with the harm that I know that this causes. And it makes me very sad to think that a misguided estranged parent out there will subscribe to something that she's doing, and some of these other creators, I use the term loosely, are doing, and then their shot comes in the form of their estranged adult child comes back in, and all they've learned is that their wrong behavior is right. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And they lose their opportunity to heal that relationship because they attach themselves to the wrong advice. I think that's really, really sad. It's part of that thing, everything that they accuse us of doing, of therapists, of we're a part of this movement and we want to tear families apart. No, we don't. We want to help heal people. You want to keep families apart. Otherwise, you would be encouraging people to go to therapy, including yourself, and you would be posting the names of those books that people could learn something from so that they can do better in their lives. You really told on yourself in this one. She really told on herself. Okay, I'm going to go get wine. I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, are you at the point of adult-child estrangement as a parent that you are constantly begging to know why? Are you caught in that cycle that they won't tell you why, but they demand that you apologize and take responsibility for all of the things that they feel that they were traumatized as a child for? However, they've cut off all communication. And so how would you possibly take responsibility? How would you possibly have a conversation and find out why they've made this decision? And what can we do to fix this? What can we talk about? What do I need to apologize for? Here's the thing. you can't. They know you can't. There was no opportunity for you to take responsibility for the ways your adult children believe you traumatized them. Because if you are an adult child's parent who made the choice to go no contact, the steps they took before going full no contact, which were gray rock, civil contact, low contact, and then the big kahuna when they cut you off completely. You had never heard of this. You didn't know what gray rock, low contact, no contact. Those are words you've never heard before. Yes, they gave us boundary test. Yes, they went low contact in the hope that we would immediately apologize for all of our shortcomings as parents. But did your adult child actually sit down and say, Mom, I feel this was traumatic. I feel this was abusive. How do you feel about us going to a mediator, a facilitator, a therapist, a life coach, and let's talking this out? And so, because I feel like there's some things that maybe you don't realize that you did when I was a child that really affected me as an adult. Did that conversation happen? Did your adult child come to you before you were blocked on their phone, their social media, threatened with arrest if you came near them to speak to them about it? Did they have a conversation? No. No, they did not. The reason you're driving yourself crazy asking why, and the reason you're begging to know how to reconcile, Mama, no contact was never meant for reconciliation. It's meant to be permanent.
Hey, I received several questions to my inbox that quite honestly, I just haven't had the time to reply to individually. I thought a lot of these questions would be super helpful to moms that are living with adult child estrangement. So I'm going to take the time tonight to create a few TikToks answering these questions. A reminder, I am the opposite of a life coach. I have zero mental health background. Do not follow me for life advice. However, I am a wealth of knowledge when it comes to adult child estrangement. My daughter went no contact in 2017. Since then, we have had periods of low contact, civil contact, and some would say as close to reconciliation, if not reconciliation, that we could ever be. And now we're back to no contact. So I've lived this for several years and I have made all the mistakes. So the one thing I can do is share with you the mistakes I have made and perhaps save another mama from going down the road I went down, and hopefully. So, okay, back to the questions. So one of the questions I got that I thought was really important, I mentioned in a TikTok that I received the why from my daughter this year. My daughter went no contact in 2017. The why, if you're living this, you know that those three little letters, that's what drove me insane. And I believe I really went insane, through in the beginning, the shock and awe stages, which is like the first year of this. So, the why the question is, was it easier and better when you found out why? Well, I received my why after I began speaking publicly on TikTok. And honestly, the why was not something I looked at and thought, those things never happened. I didn't think that. I read that and I thought, she has memories that are real and validated. Those memories are through a child's eyes. And all I can say about that is she remembers a snippet of things that she shouldn't know what went on before, after, or around all of that. Why I can tell you that I made no attempt to try to defend those memories. I didn't try to explain what happened. I just said thank you for sharing that. And if you're ever open to a therapy session or a mediator present for us to have a discussion, I'd love to have the opportunity to discuss those things with you. Is it easier? No, it's not. That's my truth. That's my honest answer. It's not. Next question that I received in my inbox. It's a great question. This mama mentioned so many people are commenting, we need to apologize. How do you feel about that? Again, I'm not a life coach. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a mama who's living adult-child estrangement with all of you, and we are learning this together. So my opinion on the apologizing, I can say there is rarely a TikTok that is posted that someone does not post under that. Just apologize and take accountability for your parenting. That sounds simple enough, right? Not so fast. So I did apologize. I did what, again, we're here to learn from my disasters and my mistakes, because I want to ensure that no one else follows the blueprint that I followed when my adult child went no contact. And one of the things I did is I just was so desperate for my family to be back together. I was apologizing for shit left and right that I never did. Blanket apologies. I'll do anything. Yes, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I'm sorry. However, if your adult child is involved in the going no contact movement, which chances are that they are, if you're here, you have realized this was not just a little tiff or a spat. This is something bigger. And as moms, we know that intuition. And then if you're blocked from a cell phone, blocked from social media, and there's a third party that you immediately remember is involved somehow, those are your 3 warning signs that this is no contact. So the apology deal is this: if you do what I did and you start throwing out words, that's an apology. Okay. Not so fast. No, because your adult children that have gone no contact, they have specific verbiage they are looking for. And I know I keep saying Gen X, but Gen X, boomers, parents of us, most of us apologize by using our own words, our own tone of voice, and what's on our heart and what's on our mind. That is not what you need to do. Okay. You need to do your research. And there are books that actually explain how to apologize. But I am not going to share those books on here, because those books are very much written from authors, and even the reviews from bloggers and therapists in their book panel are all people that I know are in favor of adult children going no contact. So I'm not going to share their book, because I hope they don't make any money, because they're not kind people. However, I don't want to get off on that. But if you are interested in one of those books, you can go to Amazon and search how to apologize and use their words, because they don't want to hear your words. So do it right, and good luck with that apology. Okay, so before your adult child makes a decision that you are a narcissist, there are many things that happen behind the scenes that you did not know were happening. And so all of this is, again, the series that I am sharing about how I educated myself on the no contact movement. So you were given a boundary test. Now, that is not going to mean a thing to you, the words I just said, until I explain to you what a boundary test is, okay? So if you are Gen X, such as myself, I grew up in a home of myself with 4 other siblings. There were 5 of us. We all shared rooms. We shared cars. I was the youngest girl, so I got hand-me-downs. There was no boundaries. There were no boundaries in my house. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Look, I'm on board with the boundaries, okay? Now that I know what they are, cool, I can get behind some boundary setting. Wish I had parented like that. However, I did not know what boundaries were. P.S. That doesn't matter to no contact. They don't care. So my boundary test, I now know. I can remember it vividly. And I failed it. I failed it like maybe not even a 10 or a 20 did I make on this test, okay? And my guess is you failed that boundary test as well. Stop beating yourself up about that, because here is my analogy of our boundary test, okay? So I failed that boundary test just as I would have failed a test if I had walked into Ann Taylor's English class my senior year in high school at Tishomingo High School, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was so small. And I walked in there and she said, we're about to have a pop quiz. And I got my pencil out and she said, okay, we're about to have a pop quiz on Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I speak no Spanish, like not even a little Spanish. So I would have failed that boundary test, right? Heck yeah, I would have failed it. I spoke no boundaries when my daughter gave me the boundary test. But the third party who is convincing my daughter that I am a narcissist is waiting and watching in the wings. And when I failed it, it was, aha, see, told you, she's a narcissist. You cannot win this, y'all. You can't. How do you reclaim your life? You learn about this. You realize you could not have done anything differently. And when I finally grasped that like I was going to fail that boundary test because I didn't speak boundaries and I don't speak Spanish. P.S. I speak boundaries now, and I have huge boundaries with anyone in my life as it relates to my daughter's choice to go no contact.